Crime Wave from 1953 was an amazing crime noir classic starring Sterling Hayden, Phyllis Kirk, and a young Charles Bronson, among others. It's a great film with a gritty crime flavor and plenty of the local footage that I really enjoy seeing in old films like this. So the film opens up, and we have a group of criminals led by Doc Penny, played by Ted Corsia, Gat Morgan, played by Nedrick Young, and a young Charles Bronson playing the character Ben Hastings. And they're holding up a gas station. Doc is the boss here, and these other guys are his hoodlum henchmen. It was interesting to me that both Nedrick Young and Charles Bronson were both basically hoodlum henchmen in the movie The House of Wax as well, with Vincent Price. And here, they're both evil henchmen, I guess, in the same way. Day-Toth directed that film as well as this one. Well, anyhow, after slugging the attendant on the head and knocking him out, they rob the gas station. And around this time, a suspicious motorcycle cop shows up. And when he investigates and starts asking questions, they shoot him. But he gets a quick shot in at the character Gat Morgan before he dies. So they send Gat driving off with a bullet in him while they finish their robbery and then leave. Well, the attendant later revives, calls the police. And, to me it was interesting at this point to see how the different world of, police dispatch worked back in LA in the early 1950s. How they handle the phone calls and dispatch police and so on. I know it's just kind of a weird little window in the past, but I really love that realism in films like this. So Gat gets to a phone and calls Steve Lacy. He's played by Gene Nelson of Oklahoma fame, and he knows him from his past. They both were in prison together. Well, Steve's wife, Ellen, is played here by Phyllis Kirk, and she also was in the movie House of Wax. There's many familiar faces here. She tells Steve, ignore the calls from these bad guys from your past, move on to your new life. Well, the investigation is on, so Sterling Hayden appears. He plays Detective Sims, who's on the scene at the gas station, investigating the crime. And he is just great here as this hard-edged cop. He's chomping away on toothpicks through the film, and he's great. I've seen him as the bad guy character in the movie The Asphalt Jungle. It's another classic crime noir film. And I liked seeing him here as the detective, the good guy, basically, investigating the crime. Interesting change. And he is a no-nonsense driven investigator in this film. So soon there's a lookout for the men who meet the description of the guys that were at this gas station. And as I've mentioned before, when I review these old films, one of the things I love watching is seeing area footage from the time. And this film is very generous with the footage that it shows around the Los Angeles area of the 1950s. We see this gas station, we see the interior of a bar, an airport, rooms of City Hall, and so on. It's a realistic, convincing element in films like this that I think really help add to the narrative and make it more convincing. And I really love the sound quality and the footage at City Hall. There's this loud, open sound to these large rooms. You can hear when the detectives are talking, that echoey quality. It's really neat. It feels like you're really there. Well, they suspect that this character, Steve, might be someone that they can go to, but they're unable to reach him on the phone either. Steve's ignoring his phone, but he's got this defeated realization to his character. Kind of this, as he says, once you do a bit, they never leave you alone. But he's got this loving wife, Ellen, who convinces him to just leave it all behind. Well, eventually, Gat, the guy who was shot, he finds his way to Steve's place. Comes in, collapses in a chair. He's not doing too well. Doc Hessler, another criminal character played by actor Jay Novello, he shows up soon, and he's there to treat Gat, but too late, he's dead. And as there's no pay involved, the doctor splits, leaving Gat's body behind with Steve and Ellen. Well, Steve calls the police to report this, and the police arrive. Because, Steve's trying to play it straight. He's trying to fix his life up. He's cooperating with his parole officer and so on. Detective Sims shows up, and he's playing hardball with Steve. He doesn't believe him. He thinks, once you're a crook, you're always a crook. Doesn't believe Steve or Ellen. Daniel O'Keefe, played by actor James Bell, is the parole officer. He shows up briefly. He believes in Steve and thinks, he's trying to be honest here. But Detective Sims is not having it, brings Steve downtown, asks him a bunch of questions. I think he locks him up for 3 days. He wants his help to catch these 2 criminals that are on the loose, but Steve refuses. So he and Ellen leave. They briefly enjoy a little bit of time together, but it's to be short-lived because back at their place, as they're setting some groceries down, boom, there's Doc Penny and Ben Hastings in the room, and, they're going to just hide out there with them for a while, much to Steve's disappointment. So Doc is sort of the smooth criminal leader. He's got this crime boss vibe. And Ben, meanwhile, is this brazen, muscular punk. So he's kind of the henchman to go with him. And Steve doesn't care for either of them, but he and Ellen, they're trapped with these 2 guys. Detective Sims, meanwhile, he goes to visit on Dr. Hessler at his veterinarian's office where he works. He's going to pressure him to go and try and talk to Steve to get some information from him. And I thought this was an interesting scene where we see this old veterinarian. He's treating an old dog that he says the master said to put down. He tells this detective, "I'm trying to save him on my own time. People, they can accept the love of a dog, but when it gets old and sick, they say to put it to sleep. But they call it mercy." Maybe I'm reading a little too deeply into the film, but I thought that was an interesting parallel going on here. He's got the mercy for this unwanted animal. And what we see with the character of Steve is, in a lot of ways, a similar parallel. He's also unwanted by society because of his prison time, and yet he sees a different kind of love and mercy from Ellen. I thought that was a great scene. Well, back to the movie. Detective Sims sends him off to see Steve. He goes, but once there, Doc, the crime lord, tells Steve, get rid of him, get him gone, or his wife will be in danger. So Steve tells him to leave, and the veterinarian guy splits. But he's a little suspicious. He gets back to his office, and he's pursued by that guy, Ben. And when Dr. Hessler tries to call the cops about his suspicions going on at Steve's place, Ben sneaks in on him, classic crime noir style, and beats him down. But a newspaper guy happens to be outside and hear this. Yeah, this is a dated film when it's an old man out delivering newspapers. He hears a noise, runs to a local cafe to get some cops, and then the police move in. They're getting a little bit closer on their investigation here. Well, back at Steve's place, Doc Penny goes through his bank robbery scheme with him. And he wants Steve in on this, namely because he can fly a plane. Of course, Steve, like I said, he's trying to get his life straight. He wants nothing to do with it. But he has no choice. Ben returns and gives an update that he has basically killed this veterinarian, but he used Steve's car for the crime. So Steve is going to end up getting blamed. So his hands tied, Steve agrees, and off they go. So meanwhile, an APB is put out on Steve, and the cops are about to converge. Detective Sims dramatically kicks in the door at Steve's place and charges in, but at this point, they're all gone. They're off on their robbery heist. Doc has Steve drive to the bank while Ellen is left in a separate place under the watch of this super creepy character, Timothy Carey. And Steve and Doc are on their way to rob the bank in downtown Glendale. I'm going to stop the review here because there isn't too much more and you really need to see the ending for yourself. There's an attempted heist, a cool chase scene, and a very great ending to this gritty crime noir film. It's very well done. So some closing thoughts. One of the rewards of digging into these films of the past is when you find a film that just blows you away with how good it is. And, I watch a lot of these old films, and a lot of them are great. But some are just amazing, and this one just blew me away. I loved it. I might just be a junkie for old black and white 1950s crime noir. Maybe it's just me, but I just love this one. It looks good. It sounds great. And it feels low budget, and that just adds to the gritty crime nature, just the realism of what's going on. The location footage, it makes you feel like you're there watching these events happen at actual locations in Los Angeles in the 1950s. Sterling Hayden, as mentioned, is remarkable here. His tough, no-nonsense, once a criminal, always a criminal attitude just makes his character that much more convincing as this driven detective chomping away on his toothpicks through the film. From what I've read, the director knew the actor was a heavy smoker and required him to chomp on toothpicks instead of smoking, so that he would be a little bit more edgier, a little more grumpier, without having his smokes. And don't worry, by the end of the film, he does get his one smoke. And Steve Lacy also did a great job portraying the straight guy who did his time in the joint, and now he just wants to get to a normal life with his lovely girl Ellen, but he just finds it so hard to escape the past. And you emphasize with the struggle. Phyllis Kirk was also great as this wonderful and supportive woman who just stands by his side. And more than just supportive, she's emphatic in helping him just stand strong to ignore the phone, ignore these voices of the past, and move on with a new life. It's great stuff. Now, normally I do these reviews. I don't really do much location investigation. But this time I was actually kind of curious to see if I could find any of these locations, see if they were still around today. They mentioned the bank in Glendale, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of curious. Wikipedia had a few clues to follow, such as noting that Sawyer's Pet Hospital at the corner of San Fernando Road and Alma Street in Glendale, it's still standing, and it's still an operational pet hospital, just with a different name. That was pretty cool, and I was able to find a picture of the location. Zooming around Glendale, I couldn't quite spot the bank, or honestly any of the locations around it for that matter. It looks like they totally have redesigned everything. I looked around Brand Boulevard and Broadway and Glendale, and yeah, it looks like it's all been modernized. The City Hall in Los Angeles looks much the same though. Now there was a final chase scene from the bank in Glendale to Chinatown through downtown Los Angeles, and well, I tried driving it with Google Streets, but it's like a different world now. They've rebuilt it and redesigned it all, but it's still interesting to follow. One of these days I might have to visit Los Angeles. Well, maybe. I don't know. That's one of those very iffy things. And maybe check out some of these places in person. But, with COVID going on, it still might be a long ways away. Anyhow, that's Crime Wave from 1954. It was an excellent film, and it's worth checking out.